Welcome back to another episode of College Football Legends, where we dive deep into the stories of the game's greatest heroes. Whether we admit it or not, there is a hierarchy within the game of college football. We have our top tier and elite programs that are in the hunt for the national championship. Then we have our middle of the pack programs that are just looking to have a winning record and chance of going to a bowl game. Then we have our poverty programs, our teams that are absolutely on life support that struggle to string together a few wins each season, and they find themselves scheduled as a larger program's home opener or their homecoming game. The outcomes for these type of games are usually predictable, and they result in a lopsided score that's pretty much boring to watch. We refer to these teams as cream puffs or cupcakes. They're basically a live practice or a tune-up game for the larger program as they advance into the more challenging part of the season. On the rare occasion, these underdogs do the absolutely unthinkable and take down their heavily favored opponent. So today, we're going to cover the top 5 memorable, shocking, and mind-blowing upsets within college football history. If you like this type of content, please feel free to like and subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss an episode of College Football Legends. The 2007 Fiesta Bowl will go down as one of the greatest postseason games and greatest upsets within college football history. The Boise State Broncos have risen from obscurity to become one of the most dominant teams in the former Western Athletic Conference and one of the most feared programs out of all the mid-major conferences in college football. Prior to that historic Fiesta Bowl, head coach Chris Peterson had led the Boise State Broncos to 3 consecutive 12-win seasons and 4 conference championships in a span of 5 years. Now I know what you're thinking, this doesn't exactly meet the criteria of cream puff, but let me paint this picture for you. Despite their success during the regular season, the Boise State Broncos really struggled against some of the top tier programs within college football. Each season, Boise State would fall short of their nearly perfect record at the hands of teams such as Arkansas, Oregon State, Louisville, and a crushing 48-13 defeat at the hands of the Georgia Bulldogs. After getting completely destroyed by Georgia, it became apparent that the Boise State Broncos may not be able to compete with some of the top-tier programs within the Power 5 conferences. At the start of the 2006 season, expectations for the Boise State Broncos were actually low. The previous season, 2005, was an absolute disaster, losing 4 games. Despite all of this, only having a 9-4 record, they did return starters on both sides of the ball, including Orlando Scandrick on defense, and star running back Ian Johnson, along with Jared Zabransky at quarterback. Boise State began their historic 2006 campaign in impressive fashion, easily defeating all of their conference opponents and rode to another Western Athletic Conference championship. They were setting the stage to crash the party of the Bowl Championship Series, commonly known as the BCS. From about 1998 to 2013, the national championship game was determined by the Bowl Championship Series. This was a computer system along with a committee that had multiple selection criteria that actually caused more confusion than clarity, but ultimately it resulted in pitting the number 1 versus the number 2 team against each other. The remaining traditional bowl games such as the Rose, Orange, Sugar, and Fiesta Bowl, they were filled by the remaining top-ranked teams, including one at-large bid given to the top-performing team within the mid-major conferences. As the Broncos capped off a very impressive 12-0 record going into the postseason, they were setting the stage for a David versus Goliath scenario against the Oklahoma Sooners as they were invited to the Fiesta Bowl. Being invited to one of these 4 prestigious bowl games was considered an honor and a successful season by most teams. Unfortunately for the Oklahoma Sooners, they had suffered 2 very disappointing losses at the hands of the University of Oregon and Texas, which pretty much ruined their chances at a national championship. As the Oklahoma Sooners going into this game were ranked 7th in the country, with a host of future NFL talent, including All-American running back Adrian Peterson, it was looking like Boise State's magical season was about to come to a tragic and abrupt halt. The experts predicted a blowout victory by the Oklahoma Sooners, but instead, we were in for one of the most exciting and mind-blowing games in college football history. Boise State hailed from the former Western Athletic Conference, and currently they're members of the Mountain West. Albertson Stadium, located in Boise, Idaho, seats a conservative 40,000 people. Walking into the massive University of Phoenix Stadium that seats over 75,000, most teams would have been overwhelmed in this situation and would have just folded under the sheer pressure and gravity of the moment. The Broncos made this game similar to an epic heavyweight title fight, trading blows with a much larger and stronger opponent. Showing no signs of nerves, they came out of the corner swinging, throwing absolute haymakers. Drawing first blood, quarterback Jared Zabransky hits Dryzen James for a 50-yard touchdown in the first quarter. With a modest 7-0 lead, we all expected Boise State to air it out and throw the football, due to Oklahoma's much bigger and larger, stronger defensive front. What we didn't expect for this onslaught to continue. On the very next Oklahoma offensive possession, Boise State's defense forces a fumble and scores a touchdown on the very next play. With the unexpected 14-0 lead, Oklahoma is absolutely dazed and confused. With Boise State connecting with some of those devastating haymakers, nearly knocking out the Oklahoma Sooners, we all found ourselves watching a game that we didn't predict or even expect. And to make matters worse for Oklahoma, Early in the third quarter, quarterback Paul Thompson threw an ill-advised pass to defensive back Marty Tadman of Boise State, who returns it for a touchdown, increasing their lead to 28-10. At this point, it was obvious that Oklahoma was in for the fight of their life despite playing a very challenging regular season, against a team that wanted to prove that they belong. Boise State was playing outside of their minds and playing the game of their lives, where Oklahoma, on the other hand, they were struggling to find rhythm on offense. And this is mostly due to the undersized yet fast defensive front of the Boise State Broncos. Despite Oklahoma's struggles on offense, quarterback Paul Thompson was able to get back into the game with a pair of touchdowns to Quentin Chaney and Joaquin Iglesias. With an added field goal, they were able to erase an 18-point deficit and tie the game up at 28 apiece. To make matters worse for the Boise State Broncos, quarterback Jared Zabransky threw an ill-advised pass that led to an interception for a touchdown, trailing 35-28 for the very first time of the game. Despite how well they played, throwing absolute haymakers and near knockout blows, it looks like the Boise State Broncos may not have much in the tank to complete the monumental upset. I remember clearly watching this game at home with my dad, and we were thinking, Boise State is absolutely cooked, which was disappointing despite how well they had played up until this point. After that costly interception for a touchdown, Boise State found themselves down a score in the fourth quarter with only 18 seconds left to go in the game. There's not too many offensive plays drawn up to emerge victorious in this situation. However, Boise State was about to enter the playbook and make college football history. So we're in this situation where it's fourth quarter, fourth down, 18 seconds left to play, and the Boise State offense needs 18 yards to keep themselves alive. Quarterback Jared Zabransky passes to Dryzen James for only 15 yards, which is 3 yards short of the yardage needed to keep themselves alive. But then suddenly, he laterals behind him to Jared Rabb, and he runs for a shocking 35-yard touchdown as time expires. Everyone in attendance at the University of Phoenix Stadium is absolutely stunned as Boise State executes a risky hook and ladder play, only to score a touchdown as time expires and forces overtime. The rules of overtime have changed over the years, but at the current time, each team was allowed one possession on the 25-yard line, and sudden death occurs if the ensuing team fails to convert. After the coin toss, the Oklahoma Sooners had the very first possession of overtime. An All-American running back, Adrian Peterson, scores on an easy 25-yard touchdown, and he had been quiet most of the game for multiple reasons. First, because he was coming off an injury of a broken collarbone that occurred early in the season, and second, the Boise State's defense had been able to penetrate the line of scrimmage, making it very hard for him to advance the football most of the game. The Boise State offense answered on the very next possession with a very good play call of a halfback option pass to tight end Derek Schumann, who had been the unsung hero most of the game, making critical catches throughout the Fiesta Bowl. With the score being 41-42, Boise State could have easily kicked the extra point to force the second overtime. But Boise State head coach Chris Peterson knew that the team had left it all on the field and they didn't really have much left in the tank, and trading blows with this much larger, stronger opponent was only going to lead to certain defeat. So that's when he had one more rabbit out the hat, and he was about to immortalize this team into college football history. So at this point, the Boise State offense lines up with a 2-point conversion. After the ball is snapped, quarterback Jared Zabransky drops back, throws a fake pass and switches the ball to his left hand, handing it off to Ian Johnson as he runs untouched into the end zone, winning the game in dramatic fashion. This play is known as the Statue of Liberty play, and this is one of the oldest plays in the book, but yet no one saw it coming. It was absolute pandemonium at the University of Phoenix Stadium, and my dad and I watching the game at home were jumping up and down going completely nuts as this monumental upset was finally complete. And if you think this Disney movie-like ending couldn't get any better, Ian Johnson was being interviewed by Chris Myers of Fox Sports, and after that post-game interview, he drops to one knee and proposes to his girlfriend that's on the cheerleading squad after this dramatic and epic finish. Quarterback Jared Zabransky was named the MVP of that epic Fiesta Bowl, and his heroics earned him the cover of the very popular video game NCAA Football 2008. That particular Fiesta Bowl was voted by ESPN and Fox Sports as the game of the year, regardless of sport. In regards to the Boise State Broncos, they continued their success and had another undefeated season in 2010, capping it off with another Fiesta Bowl victory against Texas Christian University. That's it for today's episode of Top 5 Upsets in College Football History. What are your particular opinions of this video? Do you think that the Boise State Broncos were overlooked by the Bowl Selection Committee and they should have played in the national championship? Or do you think the Oklahoma Sooners were playing underwhelmingly due to missing out on the national championship game? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. If you like this particular episode, please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode of College Football Legends, where we celebrate the unforgettable players and moments that define the sport we love. Until next time.